Good evening, all. Those who can hear it are hear the town's bell at 6 o'clock, time for which this meeting was noticed. So, call to order and pledge allegiance. I'll read the agenda. The approval of minutes for April the 24th. Superintendent's report, Assistant Superintendent report, Director of Finance and Operations report. School committee members' reports, citizens' request, an update on the technology program, Chartwell's program update, school committee dates for 24 and 25, annual stipend memo for 24 and 25, and a policy for town vehicles to be discussed. So with that, we have a quorum, and so we can move forward with the meeting. All those who can, please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So the first order of business is approval of minutes of April 24th of 24.
I would like to move to approve the minutes of April 24th.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye, 300. Superintendent's report.
Thank you. Good to see all of you tonight. I have a couple of announcements. One, I would like to let you know that Allison, your future superintendent, will be in district tomorrow. She's going to have an opportunity to attend our leadership planning meeting. And she then has a variety of leadership and individual meetings throughout the day as an opportunity to just keep moving through the district and learning all the systems that are in place here. And then I believe after that, she has 2 additional visits that will occur between now and when I finish and when she starts. Daniel's done a really good job along with Sherry Stevens and the team to take her throughout the district and give her opportunities. Both they get an opportunity to spend more time with her, but also to embed her across a range of experiences. I also wanted to note, and I just want to say how enjoyable it is to be getting to know her. I think you made an incredibly good choice. She is, smart, reflective. She is observant. She has a great sense of humor. She is kind, like really watching her move into the district and bring the characteristics that you found attractive in her candidacy. I just want to let you know that they are shining well into her transition, and in all of her visits, people have left feeling excited about the opportunity to have her come and continue to lead Westborough with you. So really exciting to see her candidacy turning into her actual work, and I'll keep you updated, as will Daniel, on that planning. I wanted to mention as well that it is Westborough Connects opportunity this week, where it's Unplugs, which is a week-long set of important events. And I think I want to highlight it specifically just to talk about the fact that across the range of this year, Daniel, working with Westborough Connects and a range of other organizations, has hosted a series of important conversations about digital use in young learners and looking at social media, and we've hosted quite a set of really dynamic parent education pieces, and this is kind of a culmination. This week happens in the spring. It's National Unplugs Week. I really encourage families to see it as an opportunity to step back and to both unplug and to venture into the range of really amazing activities that they have planned. There was a bike parade over at Hastings the other night. Really fun events. Tomorrow is Book It to Bay State. You can go over and take a chair, take a book, go with your family, and enjoy heading over there to read a book and socialize. I believe that's happening at 6 o'clock, and I think you're going to find that's a great turnout. But I think more importantly, It's an opportunity for family conversation and for families to stop and pause and to look at the impacts, both positive and concerning, in their uses of technology, and to be courageous parents as they really look at, setting appropriate limits and working with their children to grow well into social media. So I think I just really wanted to validate that as something that we've been working on all year. I think you're going to see it continue to be a theme of our work moving forward. I also wanted to mention that I'm going to ask you to mark your calendars and to follow up with me after this meeting, but I have requested of the chair that we move the next school committee meeting, which is that Tuesday, the 22nd. I would like to request that we do that meeting on Monday, the 20th. So if possible, I want everyone to mark your calendar if it's blank, and you can do that. I wanted to make sure I mentioned it on public record now that we're looking at it, and we'll follow up with communication. And if you could just kind of check your calendars, if you can affirm that with me, then I will work with Lynn to post that meeting and to make sure that we're advertising it properly. I have a conflict I can't change, and therefore I don't want to miss that meeting. That's one of my last 2 meetings. And I would be presenting the final summary of the strategic plan for the year and what's left for the work of moving forward. So I want to make sure I have a chance to have that closure with you. And so we'll talk afterwards, but I just wanted to mention that. And that is my report for tonight.
Daniel?
Good evening. The one thing I wanted to update you on is the principal search for the Armstrong School. You may recall we had about 30 applicants. The screening committee narrowed the applicant pool down to 5 who we interviewed, advanced 2 to be the finalists. Those 2 candidates are both very fine educators, very experienced administrators. They each spent a full day in the district. Both yesterday, one candidate came in, and today. During it's a long day in that they basically are walking classrooms, looking at teaching and learning. We're debriefing with them to get a sense of what they saw in the classrooms. And then they go through a series of both large and small group meetings with almost every member of the entire school. Parents are invited, and our district team leaders come over and meet the candidates. And then after those 2 long days, they get to come in both tomorrow and meet both with Amber and Allison for a final interview, and the decision should be made by the end of the week, we suspect. So both candidates did very well. They're very strong. Armstrong will have a great new principal, and we look forward to making an announcement sometime in the next week or 2. That's all.
Good. Edith?
Evening. We had a kickoff meeting for our Hastings roof project yesterday. It went really well. We had our OPM, our general contractor was there, Kelly Giacopello, both the engineering firm and the architects were there as well. We went over timelines, schedules, financials on what needed to happen for reimbursements. And we're going to have a meeting every 2 weeks once we establish our Hastings School Building Committee. We're going to start doing that. And then we are going to have a second kickoff meeting, well, our first kickoff meeting for the ADA project as well with the GC as well, which we're trying to schedule at the moment.
I think it'd be really nice to see that building team come together and be able to have a regular set of meetings to anchor all of these groups that they've now signed contracts with and that they're ready to kind of bring in, so that throughout the summer, there's a rotation of good solid eyes, Steve included, on making sure that things proceed smoothly and we can check off procedures as needed and keep them to their timeline, which, takes group effort, so.
So I guess I would ask that we change the name of it, not to a building committee, but a school subcommittee oversight of the construction. And the reason is there's a difference in state law between a building committee, which is authorized by town meeting, versus what we're doing, which is
Yep.
a Subcommittee
definitely.
of the school committee.
Perfect, thank you.
That's all,
that it?
thank you. Yes, that's it, thank you.
Okay. School committee member reports. Ally.
So we just started AP exam week, and then we're going to continue it next week. I know a lot of us are feeling the stress right now, but we're working through it together. And then I'm going to be rounding off my school visits for composting lessons, ending with fails next week, and it's going to be really nice because I went to fails, and so I get to go back a few weeks before graduation.
It may feel a little different than it did.
Yeah,
when you
it's
were
a little bit different now. But it'll be my first time seeing the new school, so I'm very excited.
there. Good. Tim?
Good evening, everyone. Nothing to report.
Yeah, I have nothing to report tonight.
Jakub?
Same here, nothing to report.
Okay, well, I have a few things which might be very interesting to the town, and the first one has to do with the creation by the current administration of what was called the Inflation Reduction Act, the IRA, of 2022. And within that were certain changes in the tax law, specifically those related to investment tax credits. What was different about this legislation is that investment tax credits historically were only available to businesses, that is, those people that paid taxes, because the credit, of course, would be applied against their tax obligation, and they wouldn't have to pay so much money as otherwise. This legislation, however, includes municipalities who don't pay taxes. So to the extent that we can qualify for the, quote, investment tax credit for municipalities, we would get the benefit of it in cash returned to the town. So what am I talking about? Well, based on the date of that bill, the work that we did at Fales, which occurred and became functional thereafter, which happens to be the geothermal system, would qualify for this investment tax credit. Unfortunately, the solar system became operational before this bill and therefore is not eligible. And so what I'm going to ask is for the school committee to front the money to make the application to the federal government, for which our best guess is that we would receive approximately 25% of the cost of the geothermal system, which at a minimum is going to be in the order of $375,000. So working feverishly with the consultants that we had, or I guess they're consultants, HMFH, the architect, and Vertex, our owner's project manager. The estimate for the seed money to be able to make our application is on the order of $25,000. And so I'm going to ask the school committee to front the money for signing them up to make the application, which is due by May 15th, and I've been assured that they can do it. And what it is a outline, if you will, of the facts of the finances of the particular project being geothermal, for which once we get our foot in the door, then we have time to develop the full application. However, if we don't do this and we don't make the date of May 15th, then we don't have an opportunity to earn that credit. And so with that, and given the date, we would not meet again as the school committee. Now, I would fully suspect that the school committee would be relieved of that cost by the school building committee, for where the money is, and that's the remaining dollar value that is in the Fales construction budget. As I have said before, we're still receiving money back from the MSBA in terms of their share of the project, which goes into the town's kitty, as well as the fact that we did not spend the total amount of money that was authorized by town meeting. And so I guess I'm stating my reputation, if there is one, on the idea that if we front the money, we'll get it back, and this money also goes as part of what's calculated for the investment tax credit. And so on that basis, I would like to make a motion for the school committee to consider authorizing the development of the full budget, which is in the order of $25,000 for this purpose.
I will second.
Is there a discussion?
Yes,
Go ahead.
I just have a question. So, well, is the chance that we will spend the $25,000 and not get the money?
There's always a chance that you don't get your money back. I have to say that because until we get it done, we don't know.
Do you have any idea what are those chances?
Pardon?
Do you have any idea what are those chances? Like, is it like, how,
So let me give you a little background. We, as the town of Westborough, would be the very first to apply. And the reason why is we're the only ones that have a project that qualifies for which it's built. And therefore, we can develop all the proper costs, which of course have been well documented on the basis of what we've had to do to recover money from the MSBA. Is it absolute 100%? No. And in fact, some of the IRS rules and regulations have not been developed. But in my career, in terms of power plants, the work on investment tax credits and the amount of money that's been returned to various projects that qualified is substantial. Is it difficult to satisfy the IRS of all the numbers needed? Yes, it is. The government doesn't like to give away money unless they believe you've qualified for the work. But this is an opportunity, I think, that we just can't pass up, honestly, and to the extent that we, the school committee, don't vote this, then we will have passed it up because the door closes next week. That's the best I can say about where we are. Is it a big risk? I don't think so, because this information was garnered, and actually we've been working on the background of this, that is HMFH and Vertex, for probably 4 months since we became aware of it. Both Vertex and HMFH have worked in making applications or preparing applications for others who are in the engineering stage, and obviously they have a long time before they get money. But in this case, all the work is done, all the qualifications are there in the best judgment of our 2 consultants that we do qualify, and therefore it's a matter of putting together the initial application to have it happen. So I guess that's my story, and that's the best I can do.
thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, all those in favor? Want to vote too, Hallie?
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
3-0-0.
I think it's really, I thank you, Steve, for staying close to those type of opportunities so that, and putting in the time and effort. I think it's often invisible, the amount of personal time that goes into compiling that type of paperwork and research. And while we have consultants working on it, I know that, Steve, that means you're putting in tremendous hours as well. And I want to thank you for putting the opportunity in front of us. I think that's wonderful.
Yeah, and, like I said, I've worked on investment tax credit jobs a number of times. One of them was a power plant in Pennsylvania. They got 1/3 of the cost of the power plant back from the feds.
That's great.
Which was hundreds of millions of dollars.
That's great.
Was it difficult? Yes, it was very difficult. But in our case, we have all the numbers in anticipation of satisfying the MSBA. So
That's great.
anyway,
Thank
thank
you.
you for your support. I'm very hopeful that this will come to pass and we get our foot in the door next week.
Great. So it's a time of year where are you ready to move to the next presentation?
Yes, I am.
So
Well,
tonight-
wait a minute, we have to call for citizens' requests. I think
Oh,
that's-
yeah, great, thank you. Yeah.
Anyone want to come and speak to the committee? Seeing none, we'll move on then.
All right. One of the important things we do here is at the end of year, the major departments come and provide an overview for you. You had a couple at the last meeting. They provide for you a picture of the budgetary implementation, the strategic plan implementation, and the work that you shepherd throughout the year through our budgetary implementation and through your oversight. I think as well, it's an opportunity for the public to hear what we do. We then take those reports, we post them online, and they provide robust information for people to understand what we're doing in our district. I hope as well that they give you talking points when you're meeting with people in your constituencies so that you know and understand what are the inner workings of the Westborough Public School. And so I'm thrilled tonight to welcome John Green, the Director of Technologies. He represents a really vibrant technology department, a small but mighty team, and they really get an incredible amount of work done. So I would like to welcome John Green to present tonight.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for your time for having me here this evening.
Good, John.
So you may recognize some of the format of this presentation from last year. Updated the numbers and added some more context, and it's, as Superintendent Bach said, it's a small team, and we are 17 FTEs. Some of us are full year, some of us are school year plus, and we're deployed throughout the district in different schools and different locations and centralized for the central office here. And we have a lot of responsibilities for a lot of different systems. I won't articulate and read them all now, but there's a lot. It's, you know, the joke is if it plugs in the wall, has a blinking light or makes a sound, it's probably under our umbrella somewhere. And we see everything from classroom tech to digital signage, security systems, servers, storage, networking, Wi-Fi, all that stuff. And then that's the hardware. Now the software side of things are apps, are learning-based apps, or apps that support learning and that support curriculum, and also apps that support operations. And our budgeting trends, so this is the numbers from the last 5 years, and we can see the upward trend. And especially on the hardware side, we see those costs have been going up. The other ones kind of fluctuate within a range. This is a lot to do with replacing aging hardware. We've been replacing teacher laptops, and we've replaced classroom AV equipment. You know, our projectors are reaching end of life. This is my end of my 10th year here in Westborough, and 5, 6, 7 years ago, we started replacing a lot of equipment, and now a lot of it's coming due again for another replacement cycle. So just some examples of some of those items in those categories that were in that previous chart. So the hardware should be pretty self-explanatory. That's, you know, physical things that typically have a short to medium lifespan. And then we have the supplies and repairs and consumables that we have to replenish every year. Our software is usually, and licensing is, and maintenance and support, those are all annual recurring costs for the support and the licensing. And then just kind of a sense of how much of the share of each, how much of the total tech budget is occupied by each of those different categories. So again, you'll see some of those have been changing over time. Our maintenance support costs have been going down over the years. That's partly due to having newer hardware, which has less cost to maintain. Our software has actually been going down as a percentage. Part of that is because we had a lot of initial investments early in the year, 4 or 5 years ago, that now we have caught up with, and we don't need to keep buying some of those. And that was also partly due to changing our licensing models for some of our expensive stuff, our site licenses from Microsoft and whatnot. We switched licensing models a couple of years ago, and we were able to realize some savings there. And some of the challenges, financial challenges, our vendors, our software vendors, are been pressing hard for annual price increases of over 5%. We've been pushing back against those.
You are a very furious negotiator. You wouldn't know it. This man gets numbers down from our vendors.
Frequently, not all the time, but frequently.
Tough world, isn't it, John?
Yeah. But and then the other challenge for the hardware we see is that for a long time there, the last 3 or 4 or 5 years, new hardware would come out, new specs, improvement, same price. Now we're seeing that the new models of the same laptops are coming out with improvements in performance and capacity, but now they're coming out at a higher price. So we're definitely seeing some of that hitting our budget. So some of the projects we've done recently, our recent accomplishments, We really appreciate the generosity of the Westborough Education Foundation. We have new digital signage at all our schools, and we have upgraded, and we're upgrading AV in at least 50 classrooms across the district. So we're replacing some of our aging projectors with interactive touch panels. We think that the overall total cost of ownership of those will be comparable. They cost a little more upfront. They last longer. They have more upgrade capabilities. And so we're hoping those will be more financially sound and more environmentally sound as well. Mill Pond, and we replaced the PA system and classroom telephones. Those were original to the building, I believe, had long past end of life and were having issues with reliability. So, we replaced those with functional equivalents that match the new systems we had at Gibbons and the high school and New Fales. We replaced access points at Armstrong, Hastings, and Gibbons. We changed vendors here because we were unhappy with our current vendor, with the support we were getting, the length of time it was getting to get issues resolved. And so we did some due diligence and we switched vendors. So now we did that over the summer last time at Armstrong, Hastings, and Gibbons, and for the most part, that's been very successful. Parent Square Mass Communication in the fall. We're replacing, also in the fall, hardware and software at our cafeteria checkout lines. And just recently, our new school website, our websites. And things are coming up. Many of these are happening this summer, this spring, and later on the spring or the summer. Again, access points this time at the high school. Security cameras at Mill Pond, that's ongoing now. That was ARPA and Mass Safer Schools grant funding, so that was nice to get that paid for outside of our appropriated budget. Upgrading PA at Armstrong, similar to what we did at Mill Pond. And after Armstrong, we just have Hastings as the last school that needs that done. A few more security cameras at high school and Gibbons to improve coverage. We're working on a new IT ticketing system and also getting our digital signage here in Forbes upgraded. So looking ahead at the budget, we're projecting, again, this is for the FY26, which we'll be starting to talk about in the fall. So again, it's kind of far out, so it's a little cloudy, but we're looking to see projecting at least a 5 to 10% increase, somewhere in that range. Again, based on rising pressure on software costs and hardware. And still some addition, and not having quite finished off our upgrade cycles for all of our hardware platforms and categories. So classroom AV upgrades is a focus, and for the next couple of years, as we replace with aging projectors. And we will be at the end, so FY26 will be I believe our final year for the Wi-Fi upgrade. And security systems at Armstrong, and then a build out at Hastings. Hastings got some during the preschool construction, but there's still some gaps there that we want to fill in. So as always, it's going to be a busy summer. We got projects, but there's nothing here that we haven't done before. So hopefully the surprises will be kept to a minimum. Questions?
So how do you feel about where we are in the process and the amount of money you have to get there?
I feel good. I feel the community's been very generous with the technology budget over the years, and that's allowed us to really move the needle on a lot of things over a relatively short amount of time. So I think we're in good shape that way.
Anything you worry about that's floating out there yet?
Another pandemic. I think just the unknown, the unforeseens that are, nothing major, nothing with, double-digit probabilities.
Good. Good.
I have a few questions that Amber gave me an idea that I might hear from some residents. So I do my job and try to ask some questions that I imagine I might be asked about this. Well, first of all, I love the Parents' Courage. I already said it a few times at this committee, but I want to tell you directly, it's been working really well for parents, and I really like how it cuts down on the paper, messages coming in and out of the school. Having 3 kids, that really improved our life quite a bit. can it ever be merged with the Power School so that becomes one system where all the grades and everything is just in that one app?
I, just off the top of my head, not having researched this, I think that's going to be a difficult challenge unless Power School buys Parent Square or vice versa. They tend to be operating competing ecosystems, and they try to keep you in their ecosystem. So it's not necessarily as easy to integrate them as we would like, or it could or should be.
Okay. I mean, it would be just nice, and maybe we'll also cut down on the expenses if it was combined, but if they don't offer that, that's a different story. Could you speak a little bit to the breakdown of the hardware costs? Because it looks like the hardware is driving your budget the most, and it's just one big number. Is it mostly the personal devices, the infrastructure, the routers, the Wi-Fi, or the equipment in the classrooms?
Yeah, it's mostly this one would be the good one. It's mostly student devices, student iPads, student Chromebooks, and then staff devices, staff PCs, laptops, PCs, and Macs are easily the highest, the most amount of the budget. And then I think after that, classroom AV, since we're in a replenishment cycle with projectors and touch panels, the classroom AV is our second kind of big bucket there.
Yeah, okay. Do you expect these costs to ever start dropping down, or do you think that's just upward trajectory?
I think we'll see.
Assuming inflation is in check.
Yeah, I think we'll see ebbs and flows as the quantities rise and fall. So right now we're in kind of a peak for faculty and staff devices. So 8 years ago we had a big spike in our purchasing because we had a lot of catch up to do. And then being on a 4 or 5 year replacement cycle, now we're coming back up to that peak again. So we have the peak of that, and we also have the peak of the classroom AV hitting us at the same time.
And we had another small peak when we committed during COVID to make K1, 2, 3, 1-to-1, because we weren't quite there. And they were 1-to-3.
Yeah, 1
I
to 3,
think
1
in
to 2.
classes, and then when COVID hit and we pushed kids home, we had to pick up those other 2 devices, so everybody had a 1-to-1, and John made that happen. And then when they came back, that went into the rotation cycle. But that was a bump, but we got some COVID fund support for that.
Yes. Yeah, and that sort of just raised the baseline.
Yep, but then
going
once it's
forward.
there, we carry it. Trying to think of other bumps we've had.
I think our networking and our Wi-Fi stuff, we get a 40% E-rate reimbursement on those purchases. So that helps a lot, and we're keeping those costs down, and they have a longer lifespan.
I also think that when you look at John builds in strategically into the budget, like the phone systems and things like that, that years ago you might have seen a capital article for those. Like we've really incorporated those items into our annual budget. And unless we hit a big one where if we needed to do all the phones across all the schools at once, we would push that to capital. But I think the district has absorbed, and technology is one of those big things where a new PA system, as an example, typically 7 years ago, you would have seen that as a capital article. And now we've incorporated those rotations into his cycle of budget. So I think those are improvements to our overall budget work, but save us, hopefully. In the long run, even though his budget's gone up conservatively when you consider we've built those in, so we manage our money well and push our rotations around a little bit when we need to. I think we've gotten creative at that. Like Anita and John meet a lot to kind of shift funding allocations, so.
Okay, last question. Thank you for the answers. The new website looks great. Definitely it needed a refresh. The old one was looking old and old. Is it also, the new one is also more functional? Does it improve the workflows? Like are certain processing more digitized now, less paper driven, or do you see an uptick in the traffic website?
Honestly, I've not had time to check the analytics on it, but that's a good question. And in terms of our workflows, not within the tech department, and I'm trying to think of, job postings and applications. And I think most of those workflows are pretty much the same as they were in terms of publishing information on the website. I think it's a little easier and the workflows are a little smoother that way. And certainly one of our goals was to have more people be able to publish more of their information, so the publishing happens closer to the information source. And I think we would achieve that to a better degree than the previous website.
Okay, that's all from me. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I just want to say the amount of time that John put into mobilizing the inner workings of the website to bring over our old one into it and make it work the way we wanted to and the way I kept wishing it would, I have to say was an incredible amount of work that dumped on top of everything else that we got done this year. So I can't thank him enough. I really wanted it. I wanted to see it happen, and I'm really pleased with how it turned out. So.
Yeah, thank you. That was certainly a team effort. We had four of us working on that, and it was, fortunately, we were able to time it at such a time when it wasn't being overwhelmed with other tasks and other projects. So we were able to take a month and 8 weeks and focus on that fairly heavily. So
there's more learning for us too. Like when that site comes on, the schools have more capacity to do other types of things with it and to refresh items more quickly. And we're still adding things, and John is still tweaking it and pulling it around. But the overall conversion when it came over, gave us what we wanted in terms of it impacting as a refresh that people in the district, have certainly gotten good feedback about. So, thank you.
Thank you.
So understand that it is a team effort, but it takes a leader, John. Thank you very much.
thank you.
All right, so you are able to go home and relax, maybe?
For a minute, until the next crisis.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
I think that John and I came together, and he's staying. And he's going to keep leading. But was really a joy when I came to the district that John came with me, and he basically innovated all of Westborough technologically in a really rapid turnover in just a few years. And then now to see the maintenance and enhancement of it is really a sense of pride in the work that the district does. So I couldn't be happier to have him on the team. So next up, the next item we have is another opportunity for you to have an annual kind of summary by our contract with Chartwells. And it's pertinent. It's currently out to bid, and this might be the last time you see them.
Oh, no.
Or they'll be here again next year. But I do think it's important before they do their report to acknowledge that because the bid is out, and that is something that's now beyond our control, that I have thoroughly enjoyed all of my work with Chartwells. Jacob has been a dream to bring on board and to see what he's done with the departments, and I know his staff adores him. So I'm going to turn it over to them and let them share with you.
Good evening.
Hi, good to see everybody. All right, we just put together a booklet of some of the accomplishments and things to come that we've done over the past year. It's been a quick year. Can't believe it's been a year since we've come here before, but it's a picture of our team on site. And we have our support team. We have a regional chef, a regional marketing manager, and a regional dietitian that supported Westborough over the past year. Some fun facts here. We've actually served about 625,000 meals last year, which is pretty interesting and impressive. We have vendor rebates back to the district of about $200,000, and the profitability for the department is over $815. Stephen remembers back 9 years ago when we almost broke even in the old days. So 28, to Amber's point, awesome associates that serve food great day in and day out.
So I wanted to touch on a couple things that we've been working on this year. One of the biggest things is we hired a student engagement manager / assistant food service director. Stephen Johnson, he comes from Restaurant Associates. He has a strong culinary background, and over the last 10 years, he was working in the corporate world for Google, TripAdvisor, and Amazon in the Seaport. He has 4 boys, so he wanted to get a little more time at home and be a little more local. So he's really impacted all the schools. He's worked at the 6 schools. He's been basically at Gibbons running a Global Eats program for the last 6 weeks. He's handling all the marketing, culinary development with the staff, teaching them how to scratch cook a little bit more. He's really impacted us and the kids. Composting, we continue this. We started this over a year ago now, but it's a constant thing. It's the deliveries come in. We have to make sure our paper products are fully compostable through black earth compost, and it's a constant back and forth with the school managers in the kitchens, and as well as the noon aides that work in our cafeterias helping with the kids. And then a community item we worked on this year was teaming up with the Westborough Women's Club, and they had an initiative to try to help the food bank and deliver donated foods from our kitchens to help the Westborough families. So we started this thing in the fall. It's called the Share Table. Any items that are taken by kids due to the USDA regulations, they have to take it in order for us to claim a reimbursable meal. They could donate it to a table, and then our managers save that food, and the volunteers from the Westborough Women's Club pick it up once a week, sometimes twice a week, and donate it to the Westborough Club food pantry. We donated around 4,000 pounds of food this year, and really impacted some good families.
Some of the programs that we've done this year are pretty good too. We've got a couple of things. Global Eats is it's a kind of a global spin. It's philosophy of food around the different worlds. We've done some at high school. It's been really popular. What's been the most? The Caribbean? Yeah, Caribbean's big. Yeah. Student Choice is another one we do at the secondary schools, and that's when we put out 2 different samples of a certain cuisine and let the students actually pick a sample of that and vote on it, and then that becomes a concept for the following month. Whether it could be barbecue-based, it could be salad-based, it could be the other things. Then we have a thing called Mood Boost for the elementary schools, and they're 6 little characters, and they're based on moods. There's happy, alert, caring, confident, smart, and it encourages the students to try new meals, new bites. And they get little cards, little stickers, pencils, things like that. They kind of go from there. And that is the year. We have some samples in the back of some of the things we serve the students. There's a blueberry smoothie and a fruit cup. You can help yourself to it. And any questions?
I look at the front page of your handout, and it says beet fries. How
Yeah.
well do you do with those?
Some were hit or miss, so we did that at the middle school.
Don't go well with little kids, probably.
It's surprising. You really need to introduce new foods to kids. It's very important. We've done beet fries. We did carrot fries. Carrot fries are a little more recognizable for the kids. We did Impossible Burgers, which is a big trend right now. You got Impossible Burgers. You got Beyond Meat. All these trends right now are very popular with the student population. So for us, it's just putting it out there and seeing what takes. You're gonna have some winners, some losers. Part of the Global Eats program, we've probably added about 30 new recipes over the last 6 weeks. And some are great. Some of the kids, they want pizza instead. But you have to do it, and you have to try.
Do you do ethnic foods from time to time?
Yeah. So part of the Global Eats were actually 1 week. We spent in different cultures, different countries. So 1 week was the Caribbean, 1 week was India, 1 week was China, Mexico, Korea. We're making homemade kimchi. We're doing things like that. Each week we had 4 or 5 recipes from that culture or country to kind of spread.
That's been challenging too, staying inside the DESI guidelines of whole grains and limited amount of sodium and stuff like that. So we've got our team of chefs that created those recipes.
Sure. I'd be curious, I know that we had a chance to connect briefly before the meeting started, but just for the record, I'd be curious if you could talk a little bit about the Universal School Meals for All and how that's changed the quality and the food that you provide.
Sure. Well, it's interesting because the cafeterias back in the day were made for about 50% of the students going through the lines, and now we're seeing 75, 80% of the students going through. So the quality of food the quality of food has been almost the same because we're set for that guideline. It's just enhancing the choices of that because we have more of an option, more of a budget to do some kimchi and to do some Impossible Burgers, which are fairly expensive, still getting the same reimbursement rate from the government, but net it ends out.
And then just one quick follow-up question as well. I would be curious if you could just speak a little bit more about the composting program and how the implementation is going, if there have been any challenges that have been overcome.
Sure. The composting program, like I said, it's constant. It's not just set it and forget it type stuff. I know Haley's worked on a lot of it but our vendor that we work with, Black Earth Compost, they're very stringent on, if a 7-year-old puts a plastic bag in it, they won't take it, and it sits there for a week. So it's constantly educating. Anytime I have a meeting with my school managers, it's always front and center. And then working with the schools to make sure the side of the kids that, the people that take care of the kids in the lunchroom also understand what's compostable, what's not compostable. So we're kind of always just striving to be better.
Thank you.
Ellie, questions?
I can speak to the composting a little bit. I know it's been working a lot better in the kitchens, but at the high school, the students were not able to compost correctly, and we had to have it taken away. But the younger schools are doing better than the high school, and that's why I've been going to all the schools with composting lessons, and we do an interactive activity, and we sort all of our food into the correct trash bin. So hopefully it's going to keep improving over the years, and then when those younger students get to the high school, we'll be able to have it back.
Great.
Thank you for the update. I just have one question. I have 3 sons, and they all eat lunches. They all have lunches at school. But every time I ask them what they had, almost every time I hear pizza, nachos, and all kinds of food. And I'm wondering, maybe you already provide this information or not, but do you provide information about the calories for each meal option, or like a food health score, something to give them a guidance to what is a better choice?
Yeah, so NutriSlice is where we post all our menus, and you can break it down with any kind of nutritional information, allergy information, tells you how many calories, tells you how much salt, how much fat in there, and all that. Even the smoothies I made before the meeting here has a sticker and has the whole nutritional label. So it's streamlined through our menuing process and our recipes. We all follow these pretty strict recipes to make sure, you can't put salt in stuff, you can't put sugar in stuff. So it is what it is, and the label's right on it. As far as pizza stuff, it's what the kids want. Like sometimes, when we talk about hit or misses, sometimes we'll do something that might be a little too out there for them, and instead of, if it's a hotline that usually sells 200 portions, they sell 40 portions. And everyone wants pizza. So it's what the kids want that day.
No, I understand. I don't question that. That's fine. I'm just wondering if the kids have a clear information about what choice they're making. Do they realize that there's a healthier choice than what they pick?
Yeah. They get the elementary schools. They get to pre-order. So 2 out of our 3 options are always vegetarian. Since I started 3 years ago. So we do hummus plates with vegetables and pita bread, and they have very healthy options. They might choose something else.
Okay, thank you.
Questions?
I wanted to, before we finish up tonight, I wanted to take a minute, and Anita and I wanted to really take a minute and really honor Jacob in the work that he did this year and his team, and to really acknowledge that developing a program to work with the food pantry, to coordinate with the women's club, and to keep 4,000 pounds of food out of landfill or waste and in the homes of families with food insecurity in Westborough is really, really to be acknowledged and celebrated. Anytime you start a program, it's work. You got to work with the kids. You have to work with the coordinators. You have to make sure that all your expiration dates are tight, when you're working with food, the guidelines and the restrictions really keep a lot of places from being inventive like this because it just takes more work. And so I just want to be clear, and we have a letter of thank you and recognition for Jacob from me and from Anita, and we have certificates for each of the cafeteria staff at the schools so they can post it. I know they often keep a posting of different recognitions and things they've been given. So I'm hopeful that Jacob, one, the letter is for you and acknowledgement of your good work, which I think you know he does, but it's important that you hear that Jacob goes above and beyond. He does a large amount of catering for us and gets a lot of calls. You know, he caters now for town meeting and supports that work to bring his staff in so that we can provide for the town. And I got a call from somebody who had attended something and wondered who did the catering. Like, Jacob really steps up and provides a quality experience, and I can't thank you enough for bringing Jacob to us. I think his staff really enjoys working with him, and I just want to acknowledge and thank him tonight and let him take this to his staff. So, Jacob, you continue to really make me proud of having you with us, so thank you. Women's Club loved Jacob, so we see, I think, an expansion of this program and more fresh fruit and fresh foods cycling into the great work that the food pantry is doing. But you know, the collections are often canned goods and other types of things, so this is adding a whole layer of fresher foods into that cycle, which really benefit the food insecure families that we're supporting in Westborough. And I also just want to acknowledge that those aren't families as in with young children. Those are senior citizens and a wide array of families and individuals in Westborough who need food support. So thank you. And I hope, I won't be here, but I hope you're here next year to present.
So do I.
So
I really
thank
enjoy it
you.
here. The last 3 years have been great.
Thank you. Yes, take care.
And I have to comment on the soup at town meeting as well. It was very, very good.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Homemade soup, homemade stock, actually, with that chicken noodle soup.
Yeah, really, the food has gotten fresher and more interesting, and I think you see that response from people, so thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you.
All right, so the next up, you guys were going to take a quick review of next year's dates for school committee. It's a formality, we like to kind of give them to you, and the chair has, of course, oversight of dates and can call a meeting when he feels the need and can move a date by his authority, but we've always worked collaboratively on it, and Steve wants you to see those dates, so I'll turn it over to him for any discussion.
Well, I don't have much of a discussion other than to say, I think in as many meetings as I've been to for the school committee, that I doubt very much that we've moved very, very far from any of the annual schedule meeting dates from 10 years ago for me. And so on this date, I would say that I believe we voted the calendar for 24-25 already, and I don't see any reason why we would reconsider it.
No, I think the continuity of it, continuity of a calendar really works for families. It also helps you build your routines. I do want to note that I'll be talking to Allison tomorrow just to confirm her interest in that August 26th date. I think she did want to move it earlier, and I think she and Daniel had talked about it, but I'll visit with her about that tomorrow to just understand the scope of agenda versus doing it in September. And I think she has a purpose in that, and so I'll follow up with her and I'll call Steve to affirm that that date will stand and that Allison has an agenda and purpose that she wants to work on with the chair to bring to you.
Yeah, my thoughts on the request were just simply this, that I believe the date that we chose in September was for her to have a few weeks' worth of experience in the system, from day one. But in thinking about her request, there may very well be something that she wants to speak to the school committee about before she gets into that. So I would honor her request to move it earlier if everybody can make that meeting.
Yeah, I think I'll revisit it with her and have her follow up with you, or I will. I anticipate she wants to do some team building, get to know you all, and get a cohesive sense of the work you've done. But let's wait and see, and I'll follow up with you, okay?
Okay. So to the extent that we're available, I think it's the 26th of August that she requested, correct?
Yep.
Which is a Monday. And the time was around noontime, wasn't it?
Yes.
But that would come from the September date. So let's be flexible in terms of what time she may have available on that day.
Okay. Perfect. I'll follow up.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah?
Yeah,
Can I
go
make a
ahead.
comment? Just we have a wonderful fine arts department. I'm super proud of all the students performing, having concerts. And in this context, I would just ask that I'm sure it's already being done, but reinforce that we don't schedule concerts on school committee meetings because it precludes the parents to attend the meetings and some committee members to attend the
Yeah,
the
no, I
performances.
apologize, because we typically don't, and I'm not sure why, because I wanted to attend the concert as well, and it's the sixth grade band tonight, and middle school, actually, seventh and eighth grade band night, and I apologize that you're missing it.
That's
Yeah,
okay.
Coop.
I'll
We'll
watch it on
definitely,
TV.
I'll talk with Chris, and Daniel will follow up with him to make sure we rotate the calendar appropriately.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, we can move on to the stipend
All
discussion.
right, so this is part of an annual process. For those of you who were with us last year would remember, this is a first reading, so there's no high pressure tonight. You're receiving this memo, I'm going to step you through it, and tradition is that we voted at the next school committee meeting, and then we're able to post these positions to the website so that faculty can begin signing up for clubs and team positions and applying for those to start running them when we return in the summer. So part of this annual basis, and I want to begin by thanking the committee. It's a standing committee that has members come in and out of it over the years. Sarah has been a strong participant, and Kristen Vincent was before, and we had a nice transition in leadership between them. And basically, the structure of this committee is a standing group that monitor the implementation of all of the clubs throughout the district. There are some at Mill Pond, a few. Most are Gibbons and the high school. So the trajectory of athletics and fine arts activities and clubs and ensembles and bands all escalate with the growth of students as they move into Gibbons and then through the high school. There's hundreds of them. It's a very robust part of the school experience. It enhances opportunities for college placement as well as lifetime memories, fitness and talent, and all the things that these types of clubs bring us the opportunity to have. As a part of that, tonight, I wanted to acknowledge as an example that the Stock Club at Gibbons, just a small example of one of the clubs, I got a message from Brian Paulus, who runs that club, and the Gibbons Stock Club in this spring competition, they came in first place. And in coming in first place, it gets even more impressive in that on the special round of applause goes to a seventh grade student, Andrew Mundile, who, from the Orange team, he had the remarkable accomplishment of securing first place in the region with the highest rate of return out of 1,200 portfolios. He earned a profit of over $50,000 in just 10 weeks with his investment strategies, and acknowledged this by winning first place. Really a great club of over about 25 students, and an opportunity for then, again, math enhancement, collaboration, team competition, building friendships, meeting people you don't normally meet, all of the really good things that these kind of organizations bring. And the amount of time and effort that our advisors and our coaches provide to our students in Westborough is remarkable. For that, they receive a stipend. It is not an amount of money that covers the amount of work they do, but is an acknowledgement, almost an honorarium of sort, to acknowledge the time and effort that they bring to serving Westborough students. So this year, our team feels very, very good about the work that they did. And I provide for you kind of a benchmark of information that's annual. The salary allocation for stipends you approved in budgets, we level funded that this year. So last year's stipend allocation, which comes through the salary line item section of our budget, was $548,282. We level funded that from last year's budget into this budget, and there was an increase put against the revolving allocation of the student activity fund account. So students who participate in paying for clubs and athletics also cover part of the coverages of the payment of a range of stipends or athletic positions. They also help cover the cost of the allocation of what students pay for to play, helps cover uniform costs, bus costs, entrance fee costs, all of those types of expenditures that also enhance their experience. And the stipends are covered partially and mostly through budget. There was a 2% increase put upon the total amount of stipends, and the total for 24-25 is, you can see there, $601,287 coming into next year. I provide for you a complete list of the proposed stipends. You can look at that between now and next week when you vote. They all have a 2% increase placed upon them from last year. And you can see below then the additions or updates. An addition are clubs that have run for 2 years and are stable, and they turned in data for their participation and their meetings and their rosters and their club or athletic or fine arts profile. And they bring it to this committee. The committee looks at the number of participants, the amount of time, the amount of energy, the amount of work, the amount of night meetings, all of the things that constitute the work, and then they place it into the stipend grid with the other like stipends. We covered this a bit last year. So you see here additions, those have run for 2 years. Next year will be their 3rd year, and we're now placing them into the stipend cycle. And the other 2 you see are updates where the club has grown, the responsibilities have grown, and a request usually comes through from the advisor or from Chris or from Levi to say, I'd like this club or this event, this athletic stipend to advance into another bracket of the stipend delineations based upon the work. So this one moved over to be like on parity. So you have those there. That's an addition of 7,000, basically roughly new clubs. Typically, Tim, for your kind of edification on this as a new member, there are annually clubs that do or don't run, and they'll offset these additions annually because it's kind of a moving cycle. You have a set of these sports and clubs and fine arts and a cappella groups and bands that run year after year after year after year. The clubs are very, very fluid, and they tend to kind of fund within the cycle. And so you can see that this year's overall allocation, while it increases by 7,000, is not requiring any additional real funding. We put it against the revolving and absorb the difference. Okay, so there's no new budget allocation in this request. It's kind of offset by the cycle of how clubs are working. So that is available for your review. You can take a look at it. You can ask any questions of me next week when we meet on the 20th now, just to check in on your thoughts. Call me ahead of time, email me, check in. The goal is, though, that we would want to be able to vote this at the next meeting because it has a timeline to be posted for staff. I like to give you time with it so you can kind of look at it. I don't think there's any surprises in here. It's a fairly standard process, but I also know that, it changes each year a little bit. So I wanted to provide it tonight as your first reading, and then you have 2 weeks to kind of give it a look and let me know. All right?
Very good.
One question, just, what is HOSA, H-O-S-A? That's a position name in the second line, just,
Where are you? Hang on. Are you on the additions?
the last page in the.
Oh,
in the-
HOSA.
Yeah,
I don't know. It's one of the clubs. I mean, there's so many, to be honest.
I don't blame you.
I don't know. I can find out for you. That's a good, do you know, Holly?
Yeah, it's future medical professionals.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Holly. Usually clubs come into being when there's a group of students who come together, who share a common interest. They will seek out a teacher to be their advisor, and then come to Mr. Callahan, present, or Mr. Foley. They basically make a presentation for wanting to form their organization, and then it's approved, and it moves into the 2-year cycle of just seeing how it goes.
Great.
Some clubs only live for a year, and they follow those students and serve their purpose. They rotate out. And then others kind of evolve. Sometimes they change names. Sometimes they blend in with other groups. But I like the organic and responsive design of the clubs because it's responsive to the interests of the students. Gibbons in particular has a lot of interesting changes. They pop up with a Dungeons and Dragons group that exists for several years and then kind of rotates back out. And I think it's a really enjoyable part of looking at the stipend list to see what's in there.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So the last item on the agenda tonight is policy for town vehicles. And this week, I've been trying to get a red line version of what's different today than what we voted 2 meetings ago. I don't have one. I did not have a chance myself to figure it out, so I would like to table this until we either get a red line from the who offered this version, or either myself or someone else can do the comparison so we can see.
Sure, we can get that and put it into the next agenda.
So if there's nothing else to deal with tonight, seek a motion to adjourn.
I'd like to move to adjourn.
I second.
Okay, thank you, Will. With that, we're all done.
Thank you.
Thank you, Westborough TV.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Westborough TV.